Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about the Bossrush strat that I've been running recently. So with Mirage, we've seen a lot of different applications for juicers and for people farming beyond and whatnot, but boss rushing got a huge buff with it as well. It is both one of the most efficient ways to farm the new boss invite to drop the Shrine Belt, the Barya, as well as the Mirage maps that people are using in endgame to make their whole maps Mirage. And on top of that, stuff like Conquerors got buffed quite a bit by the new Atlas, not being tied to certain layouts anymore. Boss rushing is very back, and that has to do with a combination of Mirage and the new Atlas. So first up, we have two new drops that are very efficiently farmable with boss rush. So you dropping as much bosses as possible with the destructive play keystone up here, destructive play. So you get up to three bosses depending on how much you cleared before. So usually it's going to be 3 bosses. And the fun part is you can do this again in the Mirage. So you can get up to the final map boss and then get the final map boss again and up to 6 bosses on top for a total of 8. On top of that, you get small stuff like synthesis maps or Shaper Elder maps and also Conqueror maps. However, the problem with destructive play always was that you have to influence with Maven, which means you have to run different maps. But you don't have to do that if you're running influence maps, so either Elder maps or Conqueror maps, because these do not check for different map layouts, they just check for different bosses. So for example, you do a Veritania, you do a Baron, you do a Alhesmin, and then a Drox, and after that, you do the invitation and so on. And it doesn't matter what layout it is because of how the Atlas changed. These are not just blank Drox maps. You can put them in any layout. So for example, I can do infinite city squares with these. It's not like, oh, I have to Horizon into them anymore. It does not happen anymore. As well as that, they made it so blessed orbs can now change the layout. So for example, if you look right here, I'm just going to take any map right here. Some of these not. Okay, boom. And I can change them into any layout I want. Now, I'll talk about the loot in a second, but this means you can run the most efficient layout over and over and over. Now, regarding new loot, Mirage has brought 2 big ones, actually 3 big ones to the table. The first one are Astrolabes, which drop from the bosses inside Mirage, but also outside Mirage. It's not really Mirage related, but it came with the Atlas, and these drop a lot. They are quite expensive, some of them more than others. So for example, the Grasping one, which is I think the most meta one at the moment, is like 250 chaos, and then you have the Templar one is like 50 chaos each, but these drop quite a lot more frequent, and then there's some other ones that are like 20 to 40. With Mirage came 2 really efficient items to farm with Boss Rush. The first one is the Black Barya, which is the invite for the Shrine Belt, which is worth quite a bit right now, 165 chaos. And then you also have the empowered Mirages, which cover the whole map. These maps can start at around about 50 chaos and get more and more expensive. I don't know how much it is exactly for a 8 mod right now, probably 70 upwards. But then you can also sometimes find 16.5 Mirage maps, and they can go for a Divine Plus. These Mirage maps only drop from bosses within the Mirage. So that is why it's important that you have a good layout. In this case, we're going for City Square. For the Atlas passive tree, most important thing for your Mirage to have more chance to land near a boss seems to be to block everything, to not distract the Mirage, because they're more likely to spawn near content. So with that in mind, I'm doing that. Some people have said that Ritual actually makes it easier for them to spawn on the boss, because sometimes the Ritual spawns on the boss, so it attracts it. But I've had no real proof for that right now, but I will be trying it out in the coming days. But if somebody's claiming that, then maybe it's true. We'll see when I have more time to test. Other than that, I'm just picking up all the 2% increased maps found in your map. This is going to give you extra corrupted maps, or so 8 mod maps, which sell for like 3C right now, 2C. Sometimes you get an originator maps, sometimes you get nightmare maps, and then Mirage maps are obviously GG. I'm also farming this for myself because I want a big pool of 8 mod maps for whatever I'm farming next. I'm taking all the extra map chance. I'm taking the significant droves. Sometimes you do find a decent Scarab. It does happen. I'm also going for up here, Remarkable Relics, Chittering Champions. We're killing a lot of bosses. Make sure we get as many Ambush Scarabs as possible. And then just go for map mod effect and increased quantity. And the reason for that is that we're running influenced maps. And the Conquerors Exalted Orbs that drop from Conqueror maps do scale with quantity. As well as that, the map effect scales your quantity, which scales the amount of maps you're dropping, which get multiplied by these nodes. Now up here, I'm just taking the chance for Elder and Shaper, and I'm taking the 2 nodes for the extra chance for tier 16.5 originator maps. Up here, a lot of people are using this on their boss rush they are blocking Incarnation of Fear and blocking Incarnation of Neglect. For me, these have done nothing. Maybe I'm just getting ultra unlucky, but I'm almost never getting them, even though they are itemized right now. So if you want to do that, go ahead. You can definitely cut this part right here. In terms of maps, there's not really much to do. You just get it to 6 modifiers, and if you can run it, there you go. Exalteds are very cheap, so you should always do that. Now, in terms of Scarabs, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. So I have my baseline of Cartography, Scarabs of Escalation with Corruption. These are super cheap. They drop a little bit extra maps. They give you extra stuff to sell, right? There it is. They give you extra maps, which could be Mirage maps. There you go. After that, there's a few ones that can completely upend your strategy. The first one is Horned Scarabs of Awakening. This one gives you a random Maven invitation. So what are the drops from these? Well, Awakening Scarabs will give you mostly Maven chisels, and some of them are a lot more expensive than others. So I'll, for example, show you right here. You have the Procurement, which is like 2.4 each. We have Proliferation, which is 10C each. We have the Scarab ones, which are 20C plus. We have Divination, 8C each, and then Avarice, which is 37 each. Now, on average, I found 2.89 of them per map from the Awakener Scarab, because the Awakener Scarab also can spawn in the Mirage again. So you could theoretically get 2 Feareds. Now, to be clear, they do not drop their boss items. They drop a lot of chisels per map, and they drop Maven's Writs per map. I'm not going to tell you whether this is actually worth it, because it depends on the price of them. They are very, very volatile because they are semi-rare. You can see I've kind of been printing them, but they're not worth that much this patch because of how abundant they are. Oh, and they also very rarely drop Mirage maps. The other Scarab that's really nice and kind of free to just throw in there is Interference. It costs like a Chaos right now. Even if it goes up to 2 Chaos, it's very common. It just gives you an extra Shaper, Elder, or Synth Boss or anything like that. It's pretty solid for an extra Scarab slot. Also, the more Scarabs you fill, the more extra map effect you get from multiplying modifiers. So I would say that something like this with 2 Multitudes in there and an Interference is a very solid, cheap setup, and it's going to, well, not cost you too much. Most of the cost will come from buying the Conqueror maps. One more Scarab I haven't tested too much before making this video is Pandemonium. I know people are using it right now, but I feel like it needs a different setup. It needs probably some shrines and some extra mobs that you can convert, because we're not really going for spamming a lot of mobs. But I think Pandemonium is already being used in some other strats, and it is extremely, extremely strong. And it could be very strong in a shell like this as well. Do note that in the 20 runs I've tested it, I've dropped a lot of Templars Astrolabes from the Pandemonium mobs, but they are also 20 Chaos plus as of this recording. So if they go up even higher, then it's definitely not going to be worth it, but who knows, maybe you can kind of combine it with something like Domination Scarabs. Now, Conqueror loot is pretty straightforward. You get these Exalted Orbs, which are worth quite a bit. You get the Fragments, which are honestly not worth much, but they're like 3C each. And then from the invitation itself, you can also drop the Exalted Orbs or something like Orb of Conflict, although they are decently rare, and then also a little bit of half a Maven's Writ or something. I'll quickly show you a map showcase with the Awakener Scarab in, though, Awakening Scarab in, because it's pretty damn fun. I'm just going to do a, I don't know, a Baron, and we're going to see what happens. Maven Influence, and boom. Now, important is do not go into the middle first. Kill the bosses in the middle at the very end. Otherwise, you will not get the full 3 bosses because you have to first clear mobs. So you go around in a circle, and then you go in the middle. And immediately when you encounter the Mirage, you can basically go in. So, boom, there's the Mirage. And we're just going to jump in. Now, this is a pretty good spawn. We're probably going to reach the middle with it. And if you reach the middle with it, that means you get the bosses again. Important here, this area, the Mirage area, is a different instance. So let's just do this because of the showcase, so I don't like randomly die. Let's go in. So here, same thing. You want to clear the mobs first around before you go into the middle. You know the bosses are somewhere here in the middle. I might have actually gotten screwed here and no bosses. Let's see. So you want to clear everything around it so you get the full 3 bosses from destructive play. Boom. Getting a few maps. Just normal tier 8s probably. Yep. All right. I think we got most of the mobs. Now we go into the middle. So here's the important part. Okay, we got 2 of the bosses. Sometimes you're getting 1, sometimes you're getting 2, and sometimes you're getting all 3 bosses. In this case, one of the bosses was not in the Mirage, but as long as you get 2 or more, you will get the portal. Sometimes you get 1 boss, and you get nothing. You can't even kill the boss. It's just frozen there. But sometimes you get the portal, and the bosses aren't even there. Just randomly, the portal is here. And if that happens, you will still get the bosses I just fought inside the arena. That's all you have to know. So always go, I mean, obviously you're gonna go in, but you will then encounter the bosses in here from destructive play. So I go in here, boom, I'm getting the drops, Fate Worse Than Death. There is a few good divination cards you have. You probably wanna look out for those on your filter. Do note that if you're in this arena, you cannot go out, it's a bug or whatever, but you can press F7, as you can see right here, boom, and it would just teleport you back to the entrance. You go out, there you go. That was the first boss. We haven't even started the map. You can still kill the boss again and get all the loot again. So now we go down, we drop some more maps, and you go around. Now, we have the Awakened Scarab here. So, okay, we got the Shaper Invitation. So you can see this right here. We got Splinters. We got a Maven Chisel of Scarab, which is like 20C or something. All right, that paid for the Awakened Scarab. Here's the Minnow. Proliferation. Decent money, right? So that's what I mean. That's what you can expect. And if you, for example, have Feared will be dropping more on average. Conquerors will be dropping more on average. It's kind of weighted weirdly towards the harder invitations. Do note that Feared is quite rough, and I will talk a little bit more about that later because there's some bugs in there. But as you can see, I'm just on the outskirts, killing everything. Ground loot is beautiful. Sometimes you just actually drop something, which is kind of cute. So boom. All right, we go around, and at the end, you want to space into the middle. 8 mod mats. This is, by the way, there's also a really nice strat to just farm a lot of 8 mod mats. So you go into the middle, and the extra mobs are gonna proc. Now, in the past, you had to wait for the bosses, but you really don't. In this case, we didn't really get all that much. Let's see, maybe we got a Mirage map. I don't know. We got really lucky here. We got 2 Mirage maps. But that usually doesn't happen, just so you know. Mirage maps are not that common. So now we go in and we get the loot from the boss again. Boom. Baron's Crest. There it is. So you now need to do the other 3 bosses in order to be able to have Maven influence on it. And after that, clear the invitation. So I'm going to do that real quick. Now, I just had a little fun run-in with double Feared in both Mirage and normal. Chaotic Astrolabes pretty good. I'll quickly show you what happens, because you might be like, oh, where did Cirrus go? Well, turns out he always goes into the boss arena. He TPs into this boss arena, and it can be pretty rough, because, for example, if he's in Veritania, he can be bugged out in spots where you cannot hit him. If you're ranged, it's fine, but as you can see right here, yeah, he's making my life hard, and depending on the map mods, this can be quite rough. So what I'm trying to say is do not do Awakening unless you're ready for Feared. The other ones are relative pushovers. Feared is no joke. Or aggressively roll your maps, I guess. One thing I forgot to mention is that you also drop quite a few tier 17 maps, or nightmare maps they're now called, as you can see right here, which is another nice side effect from the extra map scaling. Another thing I just encountered is this invite right here, the invitation of the Remembered, which are those fake bosses from the new memory stuff. These guys don't drop anything. I think they're currently bugged, but if you see them, just ignore them. They are a pretty rough fight. They're like fake serious, fake innocence and whatnot, but they are currently bugged as far as I know. Now, they do still drop normal stuff like maps or whatever flat rewards from here. So if you want to, sure, but you're not going to get any chisels. In terms of what to pick on the Mirage, there is one modifier that is absolutely crazy, and it's the map bosses are accompanied by Raidon. Raidon is the one that drops the boss invitations, and that gives you, well, map bosses are accompanied by Raidon, which is not just one boss, it is also the other bosses from destructive play. So you can get up to 4 of the invitation, which are like roundabout a divine each. It's between 2 and 4. But I'm going to show you something else. I'm now inside the Mirage, and the bosses could pop up everywhere. Even though in the original map, you might have encountered them over there. In the Mirage map, they get newly spawned and shuffled around. So technically, I could have a encounter with them right now. They can spawn literally everywhere. In fact, sometimes they even get cut off somewhere at the edge, and you're fighting half of the invitation. All right, so after you've done each of the bosses, if you hover over here, you can see you have Elderslayers Invitation full. You go over to Kirek. Now, for the invitation, it's pretty straightforward. You alch it, then, I mean, you can reroll if you have problems with some mods. These only really roll mods that make them tankier or scarier. They don't really have mods that brick you most of the time. So you can just exalt it and then Val it at the end. Important to know, the Val on invitations can only make it better or nothing. But there's no instance where it ever goes down. So there you go. Boom, you go in, you clear them, and afterwards it's going to be up. I'm going to quickly show you this. But this is funnily the easiest part of all of this. If you're running Awakened Scarab, Awakened Scarab, once again, only do it if you're ready for it. If it slows you down too much, it's probably not worth it either. And yeah, so you just go in, you slay everything. Quite outdated content. You should be able to mostly do it, or most of you guys should be able to do it. Now you can also go for less modifiers if that's easier for you, but as you can see right here, these are like 20C each. So you're always getting your money back and more. I'll also do a run quickly with the Scarab of Interference, and I'll just run up to the boss to show you what it is. You usually shouldn't do this, but there you go. It's literally what it says on there. It's just one extra boss of any kind. So if you, for example, go here, you can see that next to the bosses, you will have one spawn right here. So I'll just go in. See if I can see it. Oh, over there, we have a Elder. And boom, you kill him, and he actually drops his map. So there you go. That's just a little bit of extra loot. It's very cheap. It doesn't really cost you anything. There you go. So yeah, now you kind of know what they do. The Awakened Scarab was shown to me by Void241. Huge shout out to him. I kind of went with it and made this passive tree right here. Absolutely awesome. But once again, if it's not worth the price of a mission, all you're dropping is on average 2.8 of these chisels, and then a little bit of Maven Writs, which are getting lower by the day. So I know this is pretty hype because I showed this off on stream, and it's very explosive. But yeah, it doesn't drop any boss uniques or anything like that. The Interference one is totally fine, and like I said, these ones are super basic, just the normal map stuff. Now, one of the coolest things about this strat is the breadth of loot that it gives. So nothing can ever really inflate to a point. You get Barya invites, you get Maven invites, 8 mod maps, Astrolabes, Nightmare, Mirage, 16.5 maps, Guardian maps, Conqueror Exalted Orbs, Conqueror Frags, Orb of Conflicts, Moment of Reverence, which doesn't really happen all that much anymore, so I guess I should remove that. And then also random Scarabs. These do actually add up that you drop, so I don't just do them for show. I dropped like 3 containments over these 100 maps, and then I also dropped Bloodlines, which I think are being used by FOB right now. Yeah, they're also quite expensive. So other than what I already showed you, this is the strat that sells shovels for everybody else. It's like the shovel strat. One more thing as well, in case the Conqueror maps start going up, Elder is also eligible. It is the only other map type influenced that you can also just pick and choose with City Square. City Square, like I said, is nice because it often hits the middle and you're gonna get some kind of boss result. However, that doesn't mean that this is gonna stay the best map. I obviously haven't tried out all of them. So if you hear about some new tech, go for it and try it. Now, the upside of Elder is that the fragments are worth way, way more. So like I said, the crests here are worth like 4 chaos or something. And if you go for the fragments and you look at any Elder fragment, they're like 18 chaos per. However, there is downsides. First, the boss is phased, so it takes a little bit longer, and sometimes it does bug out with the Mirage. I haven't personally ran it, I'm just kind of relaying to you what other people have said who've tried it. But it will be a great alternative if Conquerors just keep going up, and I'm probably going to try it out myself eventually. As for the Highroll for Rhydon, which gives you the boss invite for the belt drops, that's like 1 div each, this is the one, Wish for Rust. Map boss of the Mirage era will be accompanied by Rhydon. If you see this, big ups. This cannot roll, as far as I know, unless you have the bosses covered. So when you have this, you get at least 2 invites if you clear all the rest of the Mirage. And this is important. You have to clear the rest of the Mirage and then go to the bosses. So awareness of where you are is very important, because otherwise you don't get the extra bosses, and this is what it all hinges on. Destructive play. One question I get a lot is, why am I not using Astrolabes myself? So people are throwing Astrolabes on their maps just to get to the end result and get the reward, and they use some of the cheaper ones. The problem is pretty simple. As far as I'm aware, if you Astrolabe your map, you can't also drop Astrolabes. It's one or the other. So I wouldn't have dropped any of these if I was actually running Astrolabes. Now, is it worth to go for it? Some people have said they are farming greater multi-strikes, which are worth over 10 divines here. So you could try it out for yourself. For me personally, I haven't had any luck, so I'm just opting to farm these. Sometimes you hit Astrolabes that are worth multiple 100 chaos. But yeah, that's about all I got for the video. I've only been boss rushing for like 10 hours or so, so I'm gonna try out some different combinations. If I find anything else cool, I'll share it with you guys. But this baseline has been very lucrative, quite nice, and it's kind of inflation proof because there's so many different things that you drop. But yeah, other than that, hope you guys are enjoying the league as much as I do. And since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.